don't touch her. Arguably, my favorite. Don't touch her ever. Manon, don't touch her. Any male saying don't touch her ever.
Hey everybody, this is Kat.
And this is Rachel.
And you're listening to the Smut Peddlers podcast, a show for people who love books, especially when there's smut. We discuss our likes, our dislikes, and share all our favorite moments with you.
Today we're talking about Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. So grab your favorite beverage and get ready to burn with us. This is part 10 of our tandem read through Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. We're doing the romantic order. For this episode, we are covering Tower of Dawn chapter 43 to 48 and Empire of Storms chapter 57 to 61.
Yay!
Yeah.
So, a recap from our last episode. A lot of things happened. We have our dream team made it through the Stone Marshes and made it to where our key is, and a horde of Ilken decided they wanted to show up. Dream team killed them all, so we're good. Lorcan, we left off with a Lorcan and Elide kind of headed towards them. Lorcan's fuming. Elide's confused. So,
yes,
you know, the typical dynamic between the two of them where she's like, are they friendly to him? What's happening? Gavriel and Fenrys are nowhere to be seen. They are the two who did not use their powers during that entire fight. So we'll see what happens with
boys
that.
In the sneaky grass.
Yeah, they be sneaking. Chaol and Yrene are about to head to the desert with everyone to go celebrate her birthday. And then Sartaq, Nesryn, and Falkan are in quite the predicament. They are face to face with a lot of spiders. Kadara was injured and flew off because Sartaq begged her to, which we are grateful for. And so they're just trying to survive. Falcon's still a little mouse in Nesryn's little pocket because Nesryn's like, we'll use you when we don't want them to know that you can transform. So we'll just kind of keep you there and like stay quiet. Don't do anything. So yeah, we pretty much stopped where they were like face to face with all the spiders, which is terrifying. This whole, okay.
We gotta talk about Chaol.
To start off, I have not loved Tower of Dawn. It's been fine, but like the Tower of Dawn chapters are like, roll my eyes. Yeah, I'll get through them. This is the first time like I was struggling to skip back to Empire of Storm after I finished a section that was Tower of Dawn. And I was like, but I want to keep going. And this is like the first time. We're 73% of the way through the book. And now I'm finally I need to keep going.
And this is my problem with it, is the fact that we are 73% of the way through Tower of Dawn. If you just look at Tower of Dawn as its own book. And now you're like, oh, I would like to read the book now. Like, yeah. I'm enjoying the chapters.
For anyone that hasn't read Crescent City for me
pages.
is very similar to Tower of Dawn. In the, like, first half of the book, I'm like, oh my god, okay. And then we get to the second half where I'm like, yes!
What's funny is I was talking with our friend Toast just before recording this episode, and he brought up exactly the same thing. And we could get into a whole conversation that I could bring up about how the scale it's a similar situation, just not on the same scale. I enjoyed Crescent City. Mm-hmm. I did not enjoy this book.
See, but I think the reason you enjoy Crescent City versus this book isn't necessarily just scale. You jumped into a new series, and so therefore you had the front end of like laying out what the series is, versus this is at the end of the series. They're like, here you go, have all this new information.
I will also say, and this is not a spoiler, a lot of the stuff that is in the beginning of Crescent City becomes important, or is important, like, is it actually laying the groundwork for these other things? Some of the people and the stuff that comes up in here is not nearly as important in the next book as I would have wanted it to be, having made me read all of this.
True.
But I will also say I could be wrong, because I was biased while I was reading this book the first time. And I was like, this seems like it doesn't feel that important.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, that next book was a goddamn fever dream. And I remember the big plot points, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of shit in that book that I fucking missed. Because I, like, zoomed through the last. I sped read through Kingdom of Ash because it was so good. I just fucking hailed it. But so I'm hopeful. I'm assuming that there's going to be shit in there where, like, people in this are going to be more important than I think that they're going to be. But I don't know. This is still a way better way of reading this. Because that's the other thing that I talked with Toast about. He read it in the correct order that some would say, which is he read Empire of Storms and then Tower of Dawn,
right?
and then Kingdom of Ash, and he was like, by the time I got to Kingdom of Ash, I was just tired of it. Like, he wasn't as excited he just kind of was like burnt out and needed it to be over.
Mm-hmm.
So he was saying as well that he's like, I wish that I had read it in the order that you and I are reading it now, or in the order that I read it the first time, which was I did Tower of Dawn and then Empire of Storms and then Kingdom of Ash, because he felt like getting through Tower of Dawn wouldn't have made him so exhausted by the time he got to Kingdom of Ash that he would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, that's fair. We start this section off with one Tower of Dawn chapter, and then we dive into a couple Empire Storm chapters. So,
yeah,
our first Tower of Dawn chapter is Chaol and Yrene headed to the desert. Chaol, as we know, can walk with a cane now, so he's been walking with a cane.
Yay.
They bring a horse out for him. It is a different horse than he's been used to riding. So, one, it doesn't have, like, a brace in it for him, so it's just the saddle. And it is a special, like, desert horse. And I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's a Muniki.
Muniki.
They're beautiful.
It also is, like, temperamental, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because
the Muniki are meant to be, like, the fancy, like the
Assyrian?
It's not... Yes, it's that, but I'm trying to remember. Is it, like, a regal... They're, like, way more expensive. They're, like, the high class
specifically
horse.
Yeah, and they're bred specifically
the
for the desert.
So, like, when it was brought up before that, like, Aelin, when she was Selena, had an Asterian mare, like, that had weight to it. Like, those are very expensive, very, like, well-bred horses. The Muniki are, like, this continent's version of that.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they gave him one to ride is supposed to be, like, an honor, but then at the same time, it's, like, a backhanded compliment because they give him one that's so fucking temperamental and, like, angry almost, that they're all like, haha, here, what a gift we've given you. Also, it's kind of a cunt, so, like, maybe good luck, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, horses are, in general, like, they're empathetic animals, like, they respond to the emotions, and the way that the horse acts makes me feel like it knows. Well, it does act like Chaol, but it also, like, submits at some point, in that, like, it can almost feel that Chaol's being shit on a little bit, and just, it's like, all right, maybe I won't be a dick to you. You seem like something else
It does
is
listen
going on
to
here.
him, which I think is great. Like, I think it's Yrene that makes the note that, like, she could tell the horse, and she wanted to, like, give Hussar a hard time about, like, this specific horse. Like, why did you give him this horse?
Yeah.
And then she, like, noticed that it was trying to lead when he was like, no, I'm leading you, and we're going this way. And it listened, which I think is cool. It just, like, it also shows a lot of his background, I think, in it as well, because, like, he grew up riding horses. Like, he's been riding a horse as long as the kids of the Rookin have rode rooks. Like, he's been on the back of a horse. So it just kind of shows a little bit of him there too. He also is technically of kind of that royal bloodline. He is a lord, or the son of a lord, I guess, technically.
Yeah. He's
So.
nobility.
Yeah.
He like they are like getting on their horses. He's able to like get on his horse on his own, which is great. Because of course they don't bring anything for him to help mount or help get down.
Nope.
They're like, you're on your own. And then they're like riding along and they joke about racing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like oh my god. I like Yrene's response, which is like, no, I'm not galloping on this thing. Thanks though. He's like, you'll be fine. I think it's so cute that she's like, no, I wasn't raised with horses, so I will not be doing that. Thanks.
He pretty much is like, I'll race you, and then Irene's eyes sparkled. The prize? Question mark. He could not remember the last time he felt so aware, every bit of breath and blood simmering in his body. A kiss, when and where of my choosing. What do you mean where? Chaol grinned and let Farsha run free. And so then they were racing.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. There's also a note that Yrene is smiling and like laughing, and Chaol notes it as like the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And then they were just flying through the desert together, like just zooming on two horses side by side.
Oh yeah, the horse's name is Farasha, which means butterfly. The horse is like this broody. Oh, I thought that was funny. Butterfly indeed.
Yeah, I think it's a short little chapter, and it really is just them traveling to kind of the desert oasis. But I think it's such a good one for him and Yrene that one, Yrene doesn't really let loose ever.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a moment where he got her to let loose a little bit more, while he also is kind of dealing with his shit. She's always helping him kind of deal with his shit. So I think it was a nice little like turn where he is now helping her kind of
loosen up.
Yeah.
Feel
joy.
Things. She's also been, what we believe at least, the target of multiple attacks. So the boys are hiding.
Yeah.
Because they have sworn a blood oath and their only objective is to kill Lorcan. So Lorcan and Elide are kind of they're like making their way towards Aelin and Rowan and Dorian, not quite realizing that Gavriel and Fenrys have disappeared. And without realizing it or being prepared, they both attack Lorcan and get him, like, catch him off guard.
Yeah, he really is in this, like, I'm getting to Aelin now because Aelin, Rowan, and Dorian are all kind of drained of their power. And he's like, I am too, but I'm a good fighter. So he was like, I'm fucking going now. I can 1v1 Rowan, it's fine.
Yeah. Elide is, like, pushed out of the way, and she's watching this all go down, panicking.
Yeah, she notices
and
them
like quickly realizes
first.
that it's like to kill. It's not just to attack him or subdue him or like protect Aelin, that it is to kill him. And she makes the decision to jump in front of Fenrys when he goes. It's like
he's going after Lorcan's like neck or something from behind.
And it's very apparent that, like, it will probably kill him. And she jumps in front of him, and Fenrys doesn't have time to stop.
Fenrys realizes, too, like, he
goes to bite down, and he like sees
Pulls
it.
back.
His eyes get really wide, and he like still ends up biting her because he can't control like his ginormous leap. But he bites her and doesn't like. He tries to release it as quickly as possible without doing as little damage. He still gets a lead. Really good though. And Lorcan fucking panics.
Yeah.
And immediately uses like the rest of the power that he was saving to put a shield around them so that they can't get to her.
Yeah. Not so that they
Just
couldn't get to
starts-
him, just
No.
so that they couldn't get to her.
So
He of course is like, "You're dead. Both of you are fucking
Yeah.
dead," which is just
and like Fenrys feels bad.
Oh,
and
100.
Gavriel offers to heal her, and they basically like negotiate like, you're gonna have to let the shield down if we're going to help her. But as soon as you let the shield down, they both know that they're gonna have to try to kill him again. And now Lorcan has used the last of his power to put the shield up to protect Elide.
Mhm.
And he chooses, oh, it's so good. He chooses to put his shield down because he would rather Elide live than save himself.
Mhm.
So he puts his shield down, and Gavriel like takes Elide to go and heal her. And
Yeah, Fenris says, we can't fight against the command that much longer, Lorcan. So, like,
Yeah.
Lorcan knows the second the shield comes down, Fenris, who is not as strong as Gavriel, like, we learn in this scene that Gavriel has a bit more of an ability to control himself against the blood oath. So he is
Yeah.
able to, like, kind of shut that line of power off to then help Elide. Fenris can't. So it is described that Fenris has his hands like by his side. He's like clenching his fist, like really trying to fight against this blood oath to not attack Lorcan. And he says it to Lorcan, I think more of like a warning to tell him that like the second your shield
Yeah.
comes down, I'm
Well, because
going to
Elide
attack
is-
you.
Elide is in the way.
Yeah.
And like Lorcan, Fenris doesn't want to hurt Elide at all.
Oh yeah.
And I think that Gavriel having another task that he can complete, like, it's not that he is so much like ignoring the blood oath of like, he can put another task in the way of, okay, yes, I will do this next, but first I must complete this other task,
Mhm.
and then I can get to the other one.
Yeah.
But, and also, he's just significantly, like, older. He's been like,
tied to Maeve for
he has time,
longer.
and Fenris is much younger.
Yeah. I think it really is that like Fenris hasn't had to really push back against the blood oath too much. This is really like his first time. Gavriel has done it. We get the idea that Gavriel and kind of Lorcan and Rowan have kind of done things previously where they have kind of manipulated Maeve's words, so like they know how to kind of like get around a lot of the things that she commands them to do as much as they can, obviously. So yeah, he lets his shield down, and
right before he lets his shield down, he says, I wanted to go to Paranth with you. Oh my god. He says, you heal her, and then we continue. And Elide is saying, no, not this, not for her. Lorcan's onyx eyes were unreadable as he scanned her face, and then said quietly, I wanted to go to Paranth with you. And then he drops his shield.
yeah.
Lorcan had
Gavriel
realized
grabs-
that,
yeah.
like, he had hit, like, that Fenris had hit an artery, so, like, she would bleed out in seconds and die.
Gavriel immediately is true to his word, as Lorcan knew he would be. He also knew that Fenris definitely like would not be able to fight this kill order that Maeve has on him, so he kind of like puts himself to the side. So he and Elide are next to each other. Gavriel runs up to Elide, and Lorcan kind of skirts himself away from where she is, so that the second Fenris like lets go, they can just kind of go at it. So they fight while Elide's being healed by Gavriel. And they fight in like
Elide-
a hand-to-hand combat. They're not using magic in any way. Fenrys is now in his like Fae form instead of his he's a wolf, right? He's the wolf and then the lion is Gavriel. Yeah. Instead of his wolf form.
Because he knows, I think they talk about like how Fenrys is not, he's fighting him, but he's still like holding back. Like,
yeah, he's not using
he's not
his
trying
magic
as hard as he could be. But Lorcan, of course, smiles at him and like taunts him because Lorcan is like
Lorcan.
holding his own. So the two of them are fighting. Elide is like still sobbing, like begging for him to leave to put his shield back up. Fenrys is like not having any fun. His top features were lined with regret.
Yeah, I think that I feel like I feel like Lorcan was taunting him so that
He wanted it to go quickly.
So I think he was taunting him more so that he wouldn't feel as guilty. So like he would be like, if I make myself the ass, Fenrys won't have to live with the guilt of killing me once he does eventually. Because like Lorcan, I think is just pretty much
also
said,
just like
I'm gonna die. It's not gonna be easy for you.
It's gonna make it go longer.
Yeah,
it's gonna make it take so much longer if he's not like actually trying.
Yeah.
They're both going at it, and then right as Fenrys is like about like gets Lorcan pinned and is like about to kill him, they were both blown back by an icy, unbreakable wind. And Rowan is there and has separated the two of them.
And pinned them both to the ground.
With whatever the fuck he had left after killing the orc, because he's so powerful. It's so sick. Whitethorn's voice was like gravel. This ends now. You two don't touch them. They're under the protection of Aelin Galathinius. If you harm them, it will be considered an act of war. Specific ancient words, the only way a blood order could be detained. Not overwritten, just detained for a while to buy them all time. Yay!
Fenris panted, but relief flickered in his eyes. Gavriel sagged a bit. They don't want to kill Lorcan.
Yeah.
They don't want to kill any of them.
No.
Like, no one
Gavriel
wants to
was able to, like,
wanna...
heal her arm, too. Like, it was broken and, like, real bad. And now, like, all that's left is, like, a little scar. Which still was a wildly painful experience for her of having it healed. But we're good.
Yeah. That's the thing. That is really, like, Rowan kind of saying that is really what solidified my thought process of, like, Gavriel, Rowan, and Lorcan know their way around Maeve because they've been kind of tied to her the longest.
They know the rules.
Yeah. They know her rules and they know how to manipulate them. So the fact that Rowan even came up and knew exactly what was happening and chose those specific words to override things that Maeve said is like, yes, we want the cadre. We want all of them. Rowan knows what he's doing. We love Rowan so much.
Lorcan, like, immediately goes back to Elide. Lorcan examined her arm, her face, needing to touch her, smell her. He didn't notice the light footsteps in the grass that didn't belong to his former companions, but he knew the female voice that said from behind him, "What the wedding hell is going on?" And Elide is, like, starstruck at first. It's so cute.
Yeah. So Aelin and Adian have kind of pushed forward in the group. They were in the back. They're like, who are you? So Aelin, of course, looks her over and asks if she's Elide because she's been told of Elide. She doesn't know. She knows Elide. She knows of Elide from when she's younger, but she knew she was alive from Manon, who is with them too.
I think she recognizes her too because she says that she looks so much like her mother.
Yeah, the first thing she says to her is that she looks so much like her mother. I have this whole kind of dialogue. I sobbed because the first thing she says is, "You look so much like your mother." Aelin, her voice cracking, Adian silently knelt, putting a broad hand on Aelin's shoulder. Her mother, who had gone down swinging, who had died fighting, so this woman could live. "I'm sorry," Aelin said, shoulders curved inward, head dropping low. "I'm so sorry." How many years had those words been locked up?
Aelin had like kneeled down directly in front of her, and Elide like had thought in her head like she should be bowing or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and she also, Elide like notices all the scars on her hands and her wrists where like shackles had been. And I just love the fact, I love that line so much because they're like almost mirrors of each other, in that like Aelin is this more outwardly powerful and like sassy, confident person, but has still been like tortured and held captive and all of this other stuff. And like Elide is the same, it's the same shit, in that she's been tortured and like captured and kept prisoner. And she's got such an insane inward strength that I think just no one like
no one ever gives her enough credit other than Lorcan and Manon.
Elide,
two of them are like,
I think Elide scares me more than Aelin, because Elide, when she gets the confidence that Aelin will give her just being around Aelin, she's gonna be just as fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And she's already so crafty naturally that they're gonna be they're gonna get so much shit done together. It's gonna be great.
So Aelin, this whole thing is like so sad and wonderful at the same time.
So beautiful. This is what we were waiting for the whole time, though. With these two.
The queen's voice broke entirely as she said, "I'm alive today because of your mother." Elide only whispered, "I know." She told me to tell you, a shuddering inhale, but Aelin didn't break her stare, even as tears continued cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. "Your mother told me to tell you that she loves you very much. Those were her last words to me. Tell my Elide I love her very much." For over 10 years, Aelin had been the sole bearer of those final words. 10 years through death and despair and war, Aelin had carried them across kingdoms. It's just the best interaction. It's better than I could have imagined the two of them meeting together again.
And then it gets better. Because it says, "Here at the edge of the world, just for a heartbeat, Elide felt the warm hand of her mother brush her shoulder. Tears stung Elide's eyes as they slipped free, but then the grass crunched behind them. She saw the white hair first, then the golden eyes, and Elide sobbed as Manon Blackbeak emerged, smiling faintly." As Manon Blackbeak saw her and Aelin knee to knee in the grass and mouthed one word, "Hope." Not dead. None of them were dead. My God! My eyes are tearing, and I've read this more times than I can count at this point. It's so good.
The next stuff is so good because Manon and Aelin
immediately
have a pissing
they're
match.
All pissed. They're all so angry because they're like, "What the fuck happened to your arm?" And they look at Lorcan, and Lorcan's like, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me."
Yeah, Lorcan.
It was an accident.
Fenrys is like, "I swear I was trying to get Lorcan. She jumped in the way. Like, it's fine."
Elide's like, "It wasn't his fault." And Aelin's like, "The bite would suggest otherwise."
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? And he's like, "Please, I just don't kill me."
Yeah. Manon and Aelin just go into like mother hen mode over Elide. And they're just like, no, none of you boys are getting near her. Stay away.
You touched her. I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah. It's so fantastic.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, Lorcan tries to, like, stand up to Manon and Aelin at, like, "Who the fuck are you guys to tell me that I can't be with Elide?" And they're like, we'll deal with you later. Like, you're
Manon-
irrelevant.
Manon looks at Elide and says, well met, witchling. And then Aelin looks at Lorcan and says, you look a bit worse for wear. Likewise, Aelin snapped at her. Aelin's grin was terrifying. Got my note, did ya? Oh my god. Elide looks at the sword of Orin that, like, Adian is carrying and, like, freaks out about that, talking about the fact that it survived. And it's... And then Elide says... I survived, Majesty, because of him, referring to Lorcan, and because of her, referring to Manon. I am here because of both of them. And then she says, I am here, Elide said, as Aelin fixed those unnerving, vivid eyes on her because of Caltaine Rompier. She pulls the cloth out of her pocket with what we know is the wordstone. And she said to give this to you, to Selena Sardathian, I mean. She didn't know you were the same. She said it was payment for a warm cloak offered in a cold dungeon. She wasn't ashamed of the tears that fell, not in honor of what that woman had done. Aelin studied the scrap of cloth in Elide's shaking palm. I think she kept this as a reminder of kindness, Elide said hoarsely. They broke her and hurt her, and she died alone in Morath. She died alone, so I wouldn't, so they couldn't. None of them spoke or moved, and she couldn't tell if it made it worse, if the hand that Lorcan laid on her back made her cry harder. She said to remember your promise to punish them all, and said you can unlock any door if you only have the key. This chapter is a fucking masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. I think of this section, this chapter and the next one are like my the next three. This little section of EOS,
it's everything.
These three chapters are so good.
We're in the last 100 pages is the thing.
Yeah,
we're in the last 100 pages. So like of both books at this point. I think this is the last 100 pages of. No, technically there's a little bit more of Tower of Dawn. We're in that like last 100 page realm though. So like shit's popping off. We're in wrap up and setup for the next book in both cases. And since they both took place at the same time, it's still technically like
the last 100 pages.
This is the wrap up and setup for Kingdom of Ash in Empire of Storms as much as it is in Tower of Dawn setting up for Kingdom of Ash, because nothing really in Empire of Storms sets up Tower of Dawn.
Yeah.
Because of just the nature of them both happening at the same time, which is why this tandem read is so fun, because we get 200 fucking pages of last 100 page vibes, which is so great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we did this.
So the next interaction, Dorian walks up to Elide.
Yep. Then Dorian
and
shows
says, Caltaine Rompier saved your life and gave you that. He knew her.
Dorian
had known her.
And also Dorian feels a little like shit, which is fair.
Yeah. Immediately, kind of the next little section is kind of a Dorian POV. So a lot of these sections kind of switch who's POV. The next chapter is Dorian's POV.
Yeah.
And he's like, I should have seen Caltaine in a better light. I should have realized, like, we learned this very early on, that everyone was manipulating Caltaine. Like, she was being drugged. She had this stone pretty much in her vicinity at, like, around her the whole time. Parrington was, like, really, like, in her brain manipulating her. Like, she didn't have a Vogue inside of her. She didn't get a ring or an, like, choker or whatever, but they were manipulating her very heavily, and Dorian didn't see it. And this little section is so nice because we obviously had that same, like, epiphany at one point, like, when we realized forever ago that Caltaine pretty much gave up her life for another person. The only person that saw it in real time and still gave her a second was Aelin when she gave her the cloak. Because in that time, she even mentioned that she felt like she was looking at a reflection of herself. Like, she was angry and tired and lashing out at everyone around her. And she was just moving past that section of her life already, and Kaltain was just kind of still in it. So I don't know. I love Dorian's kind of like realization of this. Like, to me, that got me more than everything leading up to it. Like, the second Dorian came forward and was like, oh, fuck.
Kaltain's story I love so much because I feel like I mean, it's still happening, but like one of the things that got me back into reading books like this, or just like books in general, was the retelling of all of these really amazing women in Greek mythology and Greek history, in like telling their stories rather than them just being these side characters in these other books. And I feel like what I get from Kaltain's story throughout this whole thing is, it feels like one of those where if you were reading this as a history, you could have, she's just like this written off character of like, she was this random woman that went with Parrington and then it blew up.
Yep.
Like, you don't get, the way that she wrote it was like, she ends up being one of these like completely forgotten women that then we get the whole story about, gets redeemed, like is one of the main reasons why they're able to keep going, and like brought all of these people back together, and then also brings them the Wordstone. Like, it's so, she gets a redemption, but she doesn't get fully, she like almost becomes like a martyr, but like in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, her character's so good. That's the same way I feel about Nehemia, though, too.
Yeah.
It's like another great, great character.
Yeah, two characters that die off very early.
Yeah.
But are huge,
like,
pivotal, have
continue
huge pivotal
to make
roles
such an impact down the line.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
This is where Aelin claims a lead. Manon's not thrilled.
The scene is so good.
Islay claimed her, which blood in her veins or no. She is Lady of Peranth, and she is mine. Gold eyes gleamed with the thrill of challenge. And if I claim her for the Blackbeaks or Crokins, Aelin purred. Elide blinked. Manon and the Crokins? What was the wingleader doing here? Where was Abraxos? The witch said, careful, Majesty. With your power reduced to embers, you'll have to fight me the old-fashioned way again. That dangerous grin returned. You know I've been hoping for round 2. Ladies, the silver-haired prince said through clenched teeth. They both turned, giving Rowan Whitethorn horrifyingly innocent smiles. The Fey prince, to his credit, only winced after they looked away again. I like that they're fighting. Rowan is like trying to tell them what to do, and they both just fucking turn on him like, yeah, you want a piece of this too? Because we will fight you together first and then fight each other.
We'll fight you first if you want to get in the middle of this. We'll
work together to fight
not
you.
Involve you. But we'll happily smack you down before, we'll just go tie you to a chair and then we'll fight it out.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Also, just the idea of Rowan saying it and then them looking away and Rowan just being like, oh god.
It's like, just kidding, have fun, good luck, see you later. Enjoy your fight.
I made just like looking away and being
I'll
like,
make the ice packs.
That was a calculated mistake I've made. I just saw my life flash before my eyes. Yeah, and then Lorcan, in what may be one of the dumbest things men could ever do, throws his hat in the ring.
Before
Granted, he doesn't even say anything.
Right before that, Manon looks at Elide and goes, on your feet, we're in the middle of something. And then Lorcan's like, she just was mauled by a wolf? She's like, I don't give a fuck about you.
Like, Manon holds her hand out to, like, help Elide up, and Lorcan just steps in and, like, does it himself and doesn't let go of Elide. And Manon smirked at Lorcan. Your claim on her, male, is the very bottom of the list. She crooned in that way that usually meant death. Don't touch her. Arguably, my favorite. Don't touch her ever. Manon, don't touch her. Any male saying don't touch her ever. I don't fucking care. Manon, queen, best, top.
Lorcan snaps back at her, of course. You don't give me orders, witch, and you have no say in what is between us. Elide frowned at him. You're making it worse.
She is not wrong. Aelin responds, we like to call it territorial male nonsense, Aelin confided. Or territorial fey bastard works just as nicely. The fey prince coughed pointedly at her. The queen looked over her shoulder, brows raised. Am I forgetting another term of endearment? The warrior prince's eyes glowed, even as his face remained set with predatory intent. I think you covered it.
Aelin winked at Lorcan. You hurt
good.
her and I'll melt your bones, she merely said and walked away. So they're just like, they're against Lorcan.
Yep. Manon and Aelin are gonna just tie Rowan to a chair first. They'll put Lorcan in the ground, and then the two of them will go after each other when there's no one else to fuck with their shit.
Yeah.
All for Elide. Because Elide's the best thing on the planet.
Yeah. So they've now walked away. This whole interaction is great. Lorcan kind of sees Rowan off to the side by himself. And so he kind of tells Elide, yeah, go with them. And so she goes with Manon and Aelin. Dorian walks off. Everyone kind of walks off, and Rowan and Lorcan kind of stay back together.
Rowan also makes a comment in his head of he wondered if he seemed so ridiculous around Aelin, referring to like Lorcan being super territorial over Elide. Mm-hmm. And in my brain I just went, yes, you are. Yep, that's correct.
That's exactly what you're doing.
He's like, do I look like that when... Oh, God. That's embarrassing.
Rowan asks Lorcan how he found them.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned this kind of earlier in the book, that Lorcan just had something pulling him towards this area. And so he said, the dark god nudged me toward here. The Ilken army did the rest. Which is kind of scary.
I mean,
but
Elides did too.
Yeah.
Like,
Elides,
this is...
Magic kept saying, no, don't go there. That's bad. Something bad here. And Lorcan's was like,
alerting her that something bad was coming, but up until that point, like, her magic had always been nudging her in the direction of...
Aelin.
Of them, yeah.
Lorcan says to Rowan that, like, after seeing and feeling Aelin's power, he says how Aelin's power could very easily destroy her. And Rowan is like, yeah, I know. I've been trying to work on it. I'm trying to figure that one out. No one has really talked to her about her power destroying herself, though. Which...
Not in a long while.
Nope. Not since she's gone, like, 8 more depths into magic inside of her.
I mean, Rowan definitely has the shit scared out of him every fucking time she uses her power and, like, goes to her and says, hey, please don't do that again. You know, because that's scary. He asks Lorcan about his mission, which he evades immediately and does not answer.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me why you're in this shithole place, and then we'll discuss my plans. And of course Rowan says, Aelin will tell you if she wants to. And he responds, such a good dog.
Rowan gave him a lazy smile, but refrained from commenting on the delicate, dark-haired young woman who now holds Lorcan's own leash. Facts, dog!
Mm-hmm.
So true.
So this is where we get Dorian's kind of inner dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Something that he brings up during this too is interesting, and we touched on it just slightly, of like the gods that are like steering them here.
Yeah, so
like
Lorcan is being
does
pulled
mention
in this direction.
Yep, by his god, which is the god of death, Hellas, and Elide's god has like kind of steered her in this direction, or at least steered her towards Lorcan and like guiding her this whole time. And hers was Aneth, and I can't remember what Aneth is the god of, but they got their fingers in all of this.
It's
very
feeling very Onyx Storm. My brain, when I read this, I went, oh no, not again.
Yeah.
So he has the thought, as we talked about earlier, Kaltain had like pretty much just changed the tide of this war because she had a stone and pretty much gave it to Elide, and Elide made it to Aelin. And so now Aelin has this stone. Another
She's
stone.
Got 2.
She has 2 now of the
2
3.
of the 3.
Yeah. And then we're at the location where the key is, essentially.
And the lock.
Or lock.
Is it
the
lock? Yeah.
Yeah, because they're word keys, and then we're looking for the lock here. Dorian is the one that puts together that they're all touched by different gods. And now they're all in the same location. And he pretty much is like, I don't have a good feeling about this.
Yeah, he says the one thing that you're like not supposed to say in any horror movie, battle scenario, stressful situation. Goes, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah,
Shut
Manon
the
could
fuck
like
up,
see
Dorian.
the wheels turning in his head and was like,
same, dude.
What?
Don't we all? Did you have not a bad feeling about this before when all the Ilken were there? Or before when fucking a billion ships came and tried to kill all of you? We've been having bad feelings for fucking 800 pages.
Yeah.
We're all stressed out.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. So this pulls back onto Dorian's like need to read. So this was one thing that Dorian and Selena had kind of bonded over in the first book or first 2 books is their love for reading. And so a lot of this information, he's kind of like going back into his like Rolodex of information that he's read and is like, okay, so what does it mean that all these gods or descendants of, quote unquote, of these gods being in one location? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
We are going to be, he's like, it pretty much essentially, my thought is he's thinking, oh, we are going to be the next book. All of us are going to be in the next textbook that someone reads in the future to say all of these gods were in one location at once to fight something, and we are going to be the next chapter of history for others to read, which is
and like he's thinking
terrifying.
about this while they're all walking around the ruins trying to find what this like lock is.
Yeah. Manon tries to pull a little bit more information from him, and then they get distracted because they've opened
we don't
the chest.
finish conversations.
Yeah,
we
get
just don't.
The little tidbit of him being concerned and having a bad feeling, and then
Yep. Manon's like, explain, and he opens his mouth, but Aelin stepped up to the dais, and then just
demanded
don't have the
Manon
conversation.
to get there, and so Manon goes there as well. So they finally open the chest, and they find their
A witch mirror.
lock, which is just a mirror. I picture it. I know it's large because they describe it as the 3 of them carrying it at one point.
Are you also picturing like the handheld mirror
yeah.
from like Beauty? Like, it's not Beauty and the Beast. What is it?
Snow White? But they
Is it
have the
Snow
big
White?
mirror too.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. There's some
Beauty
it's
and the
probably
Beast
not
has a
Disney-
mirror. Yeah.
They have a mirror.
Yeah. Beast has a mirror so that she can look
It's
back.
like a really pretty,
he gifts
intricate,
it,
like
yeah.
gold mirror. Yeah.
He gifts it
is
to
Beauty and
her
the
so
Beast.
that
Okay, I was
she
right.
can look at him or like see him.
That's what I pictured.
I pictured it
They
too.
bring out like this pretty ornate like
Yeah.
handheld mirror.
So I'm picturing this handheld mirror, and then later it's like the three of them carry it up the hill, and I went, huh? Oh, this thing's huge. My brain has created a different image.
It is, to be fair, it was described as an iron-bound mirror, the surface near golden with age, speckled and covered in grime, along with twining intricate carved border tucked into the upper right corner is the marking the eye of Elena, which was like the witch symbol.
Never says it's large though.
That's true.
You could still pick up something that's
and it
made
also
out of
says
iron.
the stone chest held only one thing, and I'm not thinking like. Now it's gotta be like sarcophagus size then, if it's holding a big ass mirror.
Yeah,
Like a
I
stone
pictured a
chest, but it's like
sarcophagus, but with like a small mirror. Like they open it, like that's it.
Oh.
Like
I
just
was
this
thinking
tiny
like
little mirror.
like urn-esque thing, like on top of an altar.
Oh, okay.
But it's got to be like, you know, a big stone thing.
Yeah, I pictured
I'm
very
thinking like
large
with a
stone.
lid that requires like more than one person to push it open.
Yeah, I just pictured that, and then when they open it, they're like, "The fuck." Yep. It's just this little mirror that
so
they
find.
could, yeah.
The mirror is a witch mirror, and Manon basically describes it. She like asks a bunch of questions about Yellowlegs, to like asking if she gave any hint why she was actually there, like to see the king. And she said that Yellowlegs was there to meet the king to show him how her magic mirrors worked. And then Aelin said, I smashed most of them. Super
like
helpful.
Those weren't the real ones, unfortunately.
And she said, whatever you destroyed were cheap tricks and replicas. Her true witch mirrors, you cannot break those. Not easily, at least. Dorian asks what they do. And she says, you can see the future, past, present. You can speak between mirrors if someone possesses the sister glass. And then there are rare silvers whose forging demands something vital from the maker. Other mirrors amplify and hold raw blast of power to be unleashed if the mirror is aimed at something. So like a weapon. So they're like...
Yeah, pretty much
honestly.
She's telling them what
got
we
way too many
learned
uses.
a while ago when Manon was with her grandmother and kind of showing the king these mirrors, saying that it can charge your power and we could put them in these like 3 locations to then amplify your power towards the center. And if we funnel people into the center, we can just kind of blast them away.
Yeah, because it's been many books since this was last referenced, but we do know that the king has these witch towers that have these mirrors in them. We don't know what they're doing with them.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about them until this, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
those actually were built.
Yeah, she says they've been making towers enormous yet capable of being hauled across battlefields lined with these mirrors. And she says for Erewhon to use his powers to incinerate your armies in a few blasts. Because I think they had used it at one point. Didn't they do a test of it, like, before she left? They, like, went to a village where she had to bring the wing, and they, like, attacked a village. I thought they had brought a tower with them. No, that was just Kaltain, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had Kaltain.
For some reason, I thought
see how powerful Kaltain was.
For some reason, I thought they had brought a tower or like something like a tower that she used. That's what she hit, and that's what killed everything so quickly. But I could be wrong.
No, it was just Kaltain's power kind of like pushing through, because she had the like ice fire, whatever. It was like burning cold versus like actual flame. Shadow fire? It was something...
I think it's shadow fire.
Yeah,
shadow
it was something like that, where they described it as like burning but cold instead of like actual active like flame, which is terrifying. I wish
Dorian
was
asks,
still here.
I know. This fucking shit would be over, fam.
Yeah, Aelin and Kaltain next to each other. We wouldn't need
Rowan,
anyone else.
And Dorian.
We wouldn't like the two of them
just
together.
Fucking, yeah, they'll be right. They'll be fine. Dorian asks if, like, the mirror that they have is similar to those, and Manon's basically like, I don't know what this mirror does. Like, there are so many different uses for the mirrors, that she's not entirely sure. She just is not convinced that, like, this is the lock that they were looking for.
Yeah, she also doesn't know, like, she knows that they built one of the towers. She doesn't know if any other have been built. This thought is, like, if her grandmother was helping to begin with, it is very likelihood after her leaving, they're still actively building towers. So, like, she let them know, like, hey, I saw one, but I'm 99% sure they're probably still making a few more.
Yeah. So they decide they take the mirror with them because they're like, fuck, I don't know what this thing does.
Their
so
large
they take
mirror,
the mirror with
not,
them.
not
Their
handheld.
big mirror. Yep. Couldn't just put it in a pocket, I guess. They've been, like, carrying it over hills, like, trying to get to the coast. Because they need to get back to safety, and then they can, like, figure out what to do with it. Unfortunately, they make it over the hills, and they see, in the Gulf of Oro, Melisandre's fleet.
Yep. 100 gray ships coming to meet them.
Everyone panics. It's like, okay, we gotta retreat. We gotta go. Aelin's like, no, it's fine. We're good. I'll just go talk to them. And everyone's like, don't do that. Maybe not. Like, they look on the beach and there's, like, a hooded figure with, like, a bunch of other people that have, like, come ashore.
Woman.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm gonna go talk to them. Rowan's like, no, please.
Well, Lorcan goes, we retreat. We can outrun them. Aelin slid her hands into her pockets. They're not going to attack. Lorcan sneered. You're guessing this based on your many years of experience in war? This is absurd.
He grabs a lead and tries to walk away. And Manon, like, with her iron nails out, she goes, you're not taking a lead anywhere, now or ever. Which is fantastic. I just like the idea of, like, little delicate Elide being like, can we all just chill and stop trying to drag me around places for, like, 5 seconds?
What I think is
could make
funny
a decision.
Is that Elide lays her hand on Lorcan, looks at Manon, and says, I choose this, Manon. And she glances at Lorcan. We'll discuss this later. Like, as if she's like, well, I'm gonna reprimand you for your life choices later, like, not right now.
You know what? Right this second, I won't argue with you, but we're gonna have a discussion of why that's the wrong decision for you to make. Aelin looked Lorcan over and jerked her chin. Go brood somewhere else.
So good.
Oh my god, it's so good. So she goes down. She says, let's go say hello. Rowan started. Aelin. But she starts striding down the hill and, like, walks right up to the woman. And the woman takes her cloak off. And Aelin knew every detail about her. Knew that she was 20 years old now. Knew that the medium-length red wine hair was her real hair color. Knew the red-brown eyes were the only she'd seen in any land on any adventure. Knew the wolf's head on the pommel of the mighty sword at her side was her family's crest. She knew the smattering of freckles, the full, laughing mouth. Knew the deceptively slim arms that hid rock-hard muscle as she crossed them. That full mouth slanted into a grin as Ansel of Briarcliff, queen of the race, drawled, Who gave you permission to use my name in pit fights, Aelin? I gave my permission to use your name however I please, Ansel, the day I spared your life instead of ending you like the coward you are. That cocky smile widened. Hello, bitch, Ansel purred. Hello, traitor, Aelin purred right back, surveying the armada spread before them. Looks like you made it on time after all.
Ansel's here.
For a small, brief recap for anyone who does not remember what happened in Assassin's Blade. Ansel was in the Red Desert, short story. and she is the one that Aelin let go after Ansel had like betrayed the group that they were with. And she had like said she was going to give her 20 minutes to like escape, and she gave her 21 and didn't kill Ansel, even though she had a clear shot and absolutely could have.
Mm-hmm.
And Ansel remembers that, and just like she doesn't necessarily like have an insane clear loyalty to her, but like never forgets it and goes off and like does her own thing, and she ended up amassing all of this power, which is so cool. And now she's back.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much. We learned so much of like what Ansel's been doing. So
Yeah.
end of that chapter,
Ansel's
we go
been
right
busy.
into the next one. Ansel's been doing some shit. So first, she had to make it to the Wastes. That was her first goal. And then there was someone there who was like trying to claim it as their territory. So she had to work herself up in the ranks to then regain her title as what is she considered, like not the lord or lady of?
She's the Ansel at least is considered the queen of the Western Wastes. Right now, at least.
I thought she had a different title, because then Manon was like, no, I'm the Kraken queen. Oh, Queen of the Wastes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's Queen of the Western Wastes. So yeah, so Manon and her meet. Technically, the first thing that happens is that Aelin introduces
Ansel to like everyone.
her to Manon, because they initially are like, we can't trust them. She's from Melisande. She has Melisand's fleet. And Aelin says she's not from Melisande. The Wastes are allied with Terrasen. And Manon says, who is she to speak for the Wastes? Manon is pissed. She gets introduced. Aelin introduces Manon as heir to the Blackbeak Witch clan, and now the last Kraken queen. Meet Ansel of Briarcliff, assassin and queen of the Western Wastes. Manon is wildly displeased because she's supposed to be the Wastes are the Witch Kingdom, technically.
Yeah, so the Krakens kind of owned and operated within the Wastes. Then all of the like clans kind of like bounded together to then take over the Wastes. And before they killed Rhiannon, the last Kraken queen, she cursed the land so that it became the Wastes. And like literally you can't grow anything, whatever. Like the witches couldn't grow anything until they kind of allied back with the Krakens or something.
Yeah.
There's a longer in-depth lore that has to do with Manon.
We've talked
and why
about
Manon
it in
exists.
previous episodes. Yeah.
But TLDR, it's that she cursed it. The like clans can't really do anything. They can't use the land in any feasible way. The animals died
because of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get it, because Manon is like,
we're supposed to get them
prideful,
back. Yeah.
But I'm also at the same time, I'm like, did you think that like no one was gonna take the land? It was just gonna sit there completely unused
just
until
because
you
y'all
came
are
back?
Witches?
Like, you left. It's somebody else's land now.
It. And the thing is, that it's only the Wastes when the clans are there. When the clans leave, other people who are living there can grow food, and there's water, and like all of the resources rebound. It's when the witches come back, like the clan witches come back, that everything dies off, because the curse is only on the witches. It's not on the land itself. It's great. I love this. I love that Ansel is the queen of the Western Wastes, and I love that Manon is getting she's getting checked a little by Aelin and Ansel. Ansel specifically. Because she pretty much fights back, like pushes back on Aelin, saying that she's the queen. And Aelin's like, she fought from the bottom to make it to the top. She then did like all these other things and then gathered people and are protecting their people, and yet you're still going to try to take the title from her when you, just were born a witch?
Yep.
She's like, the spoon that is just placed in your mouth, she actually had to fight for it. And you're just, I'm a witch, so it's mine.
Yeah, that's not how that's going to work.
I love it so much.
So Ansel describes kind of what she's been doing and how she knew to assemble her armies and bring them. And she basically realized, because she heard that she had been fighting in the pits, she's like, that's not me. Someone's impersonating me, and finds out that it was Aelin, and she just knew. She knew to get ready and get her armies prepared. And she says, half of them are already on their way there now, ready to join with Terrasen, the country of my friend Selena Sodothian, who did not forget it, even when she was in the Red Desert, and who did not stop looking north every night that we could see the stars. There was no greater gift that I could offer to repay her than saving the kingdom she did not forget. And that was before I got her letter months ago, telling me who she was and that she'd gut me if I didn't assist in her cause. I was on my way with my army already, but then the next letter arrived telling me to go to the Gulf of Oro to meet her here and follow a specific set of instructions. Adian realizes that this is the dispatch that she sent while they were in Ilium. Mm-hmm. And she continues.
I like that Aelin pretty much tells him, let the woman finish.
So good.
Which is also like, boys, shut up. All the women are here now. All the women. So all these boys are just going to be backline.
Ansel's response is, I'm assuming you lot know how bossy Her Majesty is, but I followed the instructions. I've brought the other half of my army when I veered down south. We hiked through the White Fans into Melisande. Its queen assumed we arrived to offer aid. She let us right in the front gates.
Pretty much Ansel took over Melisande.
She takes over Melisande.
She took over the queen's home. And
she fucking takes back Cassida. Which is Aelin's horse.
Yes. And her own.
Ansel goes on. Yeah, and she gets her own horse back too, which is fucking great. Ansel goes on and says, do you know, I rather like pillaging. With Melisandre's troops spread so thin for Morath, she really had no choice but to yield. She thought though she was particularly furious to see me claim the horse, made worse when I took her out of her dungeon to reveal that Terrasen's flag now flies alongside my wolf and at her own damn house.
So the Queen of Melisande is in a dungeon.
Yep. It's so great. And now Melisandre's fleet is Aelin's fleet.
Mm-hmm. The best part of this whole scene is at the end, Manon just bursts out laughing.
I do like how the beginning of this chapter is Manon might murder
Ansel.
Might murder Ansel. And then by the time she gets to the end, she's like, I'll reevaluate my feelings on this.
Yeah.
For now. We're gonna still fight, but maybe I won't kill you. Maybe there's an alliance to be had here.
Maybe I'll be the Kraken Queen and you can be the Queen of the Wastes and we'll
surprise. Adian's pissed.
Oh yeah.
Because he doesn't like being left out of the loop.
Yeah. Adian was left out again. But
whatever.
To be fair, this was a secret all the way from Rifthold that she...
Yep.
And she claims that she didn't tell them because she didn't know how it was going to work out. She didn't know if Ansel was even going to come to their aid. And, she could have shown up and not been on her side.
Yeah.
You never know. Ansel was a little shady. She was really, self-motivated in Assassin's Blade.
We didn't know. We had no idea if she would respond to the letter.
Yeah.
We're just really happy she did.
So, Melisande is placed between the North and Morath. So, the fact that now they have control over Melisande, it is separating Morath from Terracin and everything else north. Which is a big deal. Like, Melisand is the one that wanted to create the travel route that goes from Rifthold all the way through. Like, that was the reason the Queen of Melisand was kind of on the same side as Erewhon, was for a trade route. And now they control that trade route. We don't know if it's been constructed, but in book, 2 is when they talked about it being constructed or starting. So at this point, we'd hope that maybe some of it, that it exists, they have access now that they would not have had previously, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it is strategically best fucking option we could hope for right now.
Yeah.
Because we've got where they're at. They're like all the way down at the southern part of the continent. If they go straight north, it's literally like going straight north is Melisand, which they now basically have control of, Morath, which is destroyed and that is like mostly abandoned, and then Aniel, which is where Chaol's from, and Papa.
We still don't know what
Oakwald
side.
Forest and Otterlin.
I'm holding out hope for him. I probably shouldn't, but I am holding out hope only because I feel like he's going to be our political pawn that just knows how to play the game, and he's been playing the long game. Like, that's my hope, is that
he has never been aligned. He's never been aligned with the king. Like,
he's never been aligned with anyone.
Those nobles. He was one of those nobles that was like,
he's playing the game for his best interest.
Yeah, he doesn't actually give a shit about his country.
And I feel like I think he gives a shit about his country. He only gives a shit about
his.
I don't
not
think
about
he
his
cares
country,
about
about his region. Just his area.
Yeah. I think he gives a shit about Aniel.
Yes, not about the country or about like what's best for all of them long term. He just cares about his own little fucking fiefdom.
He has no ring. We know this. He has no like necklace. Like, he's not being controlled by Parrington or Erewhon or whatever. Which is why I still hold out hope that like he's gonna realize that Aelin is the stronger and he's gonna support her, and not the other way around. Because it'll be in his best interest. That is my hope. Even though I still think he's a piece of shit, I'm just hoping that he's gonna be like, well, it's better for me if I side with them. Versus the other guy. Which,
true.
It's like the tiniest little like olive branch, but it'll do for me.
We'll take it. If we can get it.
Yeah, I'll take the little, like, just that one tiny little win.
So the last little bit of this chapter is Aedion being fucking annoyed again that Aelin didn't tell him what's going on. And of course, Lysandra goes and like is like, hey, you seem frustrated. They end up having this very sweet conversation because Lysandra basically, like, she confides in him that battle that they just had was really the first time that she's been like, she realizes that she's really scared to lose this family that they've built.
Yeah, she was solo for so long. Like, it was just
she
her
and she didn't really care, but like, she's got all of these people that she cares about now. She's part of this court. They've made her part of the court. And the last 2 fights that they had were really scary. Like, she genuinely was nervous about people actually losing their lives. And she asks Aedion, like, how he deals with it. Like, how do you deal with your Bane going into battle every time? And the fear of, like, losing those people that you also are ordering to go into battle. And he says, you have no choice but to learn to face it. The fear of loss, it can destroy you as much as the loss itself. And she says back, I think we will both need to remind ourselves of that in the times ahead. And he says, and remember to enjoy what time we do have. And she says back, I do enjoy it, you know, this, whatever this is. Adian debated whether or not to go for subtlety or gave himself the span of 3 breaths to decide. In the end, he went for his usual method, which had served him both on and off battlefields, a precise sort of blunt attack, edged with enough outright arrogance to throw his opponent off their guard. Whatever this is, he said with a half smile, between us. Lysandra indeed went on the defensive and showed her hand. I know my history is unappealing. I'm going to stop you right there, Adian said, daring a step closer. And I'm going to tell you that there is nothing unappealing about you. Nothing. I've been with just as many people, women, men. I've seen and tried it all. Attraction is attraction, and I know enough about it to understand that you and we can figure it out, make no demands of each other beyond honesty. A small smile played about her lips. Yes, she breathed. Let's start there.
Yay.
Yeah. Progress, guys!
He notes that he's going to take his time with her. He'd show her all of it, that she's worth it, and that she was his final hunt.
That part is so cute. Because he basically, like, he thinks about kissing her, and he's like, no. I'm gonna save every single moment of this last hunt. I'm like, that's so fucking cute. What the hell? Goddamn. And she deserves it. I'm so happy for Lysandra.
Yeah.
I'm more happy for Lysandra than I am of Adian, like, getting his mental shit together. Oh, it's so cute. All right.
Tower of Dawn. So, this section, we learn a lot.
Yo,
from Tower of Dawn.
This
is what does it. This is the part that really
God, so many things
made me not want to stop reading Tower of Dawn.
This is when Tower of Dawn pops off. For reference, we're in chapter fucking 44. Okay, yeah. So still 490 of the
pages.
book.
Yeah, 74% of the way through. Yeah,
ugh. Yeah. 490 is when this picks up. Mm-hmm. So, as a brief reminder, the reason that they had wanted to go to this oasis in the first place was because they had, like, read something in their, they'd figured out in their research, something's out here. There's, like, something,
a cave
that they're looking for. Yeah, a cave, and it's supposed to have, like, something in it that has to do with the word marks and all of the stuff that they're, like, searching about. So they were trying, this birthday thing was all, like, Yrene going to Hussar and being like, I'd really love to go on a, like, birthday oasis trip, hint, nudge, wink. And Hussar was like, yo, we got one of those, let's go. We'll go there. Brings everyone along.
Yep.
Because there's no fun other than torturing people at the same time. So, they get there, and, like, of course, they're fucking royalty, so, like, they've got a fucking insane amount of, like, servants, and they bring all this fancy shit and set up all these tents and whatever. Also, like, they're, like, half the people there are just indecently dressed because they're, like, at a pool, but they're also at it's a party. So
they're drinking and doing everything, and they're wearing, like, hanging practically out in the just water. Like gauzy, lacy things.
Clothes.
Yeah. And then jumping into water and then coming out of the water. So their gauzy, lacy clothes are just, like, plastered to them.
Yep. But not Yrene.
No.
Because she is a modest lady.
Yeah. So modest.
Mm-hmm.
They all went swimming. Pretty much like everyone there went swimming. And Yrene saw it as a time to go explore. So she asks in front of everyone, it seems like a nice night for a walk. So Chaol grabbed her arm and they decided to kind of go wander off, using this as a guise to try to look for a cave or ruins. That's kind of what the writings alluded to. During this time, they're kind of walking through the jungle and they talk a little bit. They talk a little bit of Rifthold and why he joined kind of the Royal Guard, and he has this moment where he thinks of Ress and Brullo and how they kind of suffered because of him, because they refused to tell the king any information about him.
Yeah.
And he pretty much just says to Yrene they weren't all bad men. And it was all because he's thinking of them pretty much like taking him in and raising him as a teen. Like, he left his home to be here. He's joined the Royal Guard, and then Ress and Brullo like took him under their wing, and even in their final days refused to tell the king anything and died because of it. So he's telling Yrene all of this information pretty unprompted. She just kind of is talking about him being in the guard, and he gives up all of this information about Ress and Brullo, which is like leaps and bounds past what Chaol normally does. He's actually talking about his feelings, which is great. He also corrects her when she says, "Then I believe they are good men." And he responds, "Were." And that's when he lets in that, like, the biggest thing that's been weighing on him is that the king had them butchered and then hung from the castle gates.
Because they wouldn't tell him.
Yeah. Not one of them broke when the king and others, when they questioned the guards about me, not a single one of them broke. And that's when Yrene knew that he blamed himself for their deaths. Which...
Yeah. And she says, you can't blame yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And in Chaol's head, he says, and utterly untrue. Like, buddy. Oh.
Yeah. He punished them to punish me, pretty much. It's awful. It's nice that he's finally talking about it. This is the first time, like, she saw all of that stuff when she's been healing him, but this is the first time he's speaking it out loud, like he's telling someone that this is the thing that is weighing on my soul so heavily, is all of these people that, like, got killed because they would not give me up. Which is a thing that they chose to do. I don't know, I think it's a lovely little thing.
It's just more, it's more of the same stuff where she's so good at, like, this character died, but I'm going to continue to bring up, she just reinforces how each of the characters that she seems to bring into the story she's woven them to not just be like an afterthought.
Mm-hmm. They're not just there to, like, be a character.
Get brought back up as, like, these are the things that have forged these people into the characters that they are today. And we're not, she, like, never lets us forget any of the ones that, like, died to make these people the characters that they are. I think I love that. It's more of, like, you know, it's less subtle character development to, like, revisit that stuff, but I also feel like sometimes I need that of, like, oh wow, he's like, these people are getting so much better, and then I do like that she brings us back to, like, These are the people that got them to where they are.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Their conversation is cut short
Yep.
because we don't finish conversations in this series.
Well,
I mean, their conversation was definitely more finished than any of the other ones that we've had so far today. But they find what they're looking for. They've got like deeper into the jungle. The entire site was larger than many villages, and yet little of the green had been tamed. Certainly no path to be found, or an indication of a city of the dead beneath them. They find the entrance of this cave.
it ends up being more of like ruins.
Yeah.
That are cave-like, which is why they were confused. So like they were looking for a cave and then stumbled upon kind of ruins, and then because it really is a necropolis of like the dead underground, and that's the like quote unquote cave portion, is like them being buried within these ruins.
And they mentioned too, because Chaol says, I thought the Coggins people left their dead under the open sky in the heart of their home territory. And Yrene says they do, but this site predates the Cogganate, the Torre, and Antica too, whoever was here before. Hassar claimed the tunnels are all clever traps, either designed to keep looters out or keep the dead inside. Which Chaol says, you're telling me this now? They're both like very uncomfortable when they go in. Like, wow, this is a feeling of wrongness. Cool.
Yeah.
We love feelings of wrongness.
Walking on top of dead bodies. So like,
yep.
You know, I get it. Doesn't feel great. As they're walking through these ruins, they see like carvings everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And there are word marks on the walls. There are images and depictions. And the one that stands out to them the most is they see two large males. And then they kind of pull back vines and stuff and then see a depiction of a Volg. And so it's like two Fey males facing one Volg. And then it just, as they pull more like vines and stuff down, they see a depiction pretty much of battles of the Fey fighting against the Volg, which predates everything that Chaol knows already of like Elena being part of that, because this is like war way before Elena was even involved, and the Cogganite and kind of everyone. They also then realize that this is a Fey burial site.
Yeah, they realized that this was not for humans and that this is a Fey burial site. But they're not aware of any other Fey group other than the one that's in Doranel.
Mm-hmm.
So even this, if this was a Fey group, it predates Elena and Gavin and the group from Doranel, or is an entirely separate group.
Mm-hmm. Yrene notes that Nusha knew of this location and knew that it must be important, but it isn't. It's like important for similar reasons to the Torre. And so she notes that healers were always drawn to this realm and this land, that it's very possible that, like, just like in Doranel, the reason that Doranel is so heavily protected, very similarly to Antica, is to protect the Fey healers, and then Antica is to protect the Torre, which is the human healers or whatever. And so this could be another site that the Fey were trying to protect for their ability to heal, even. Like, it really ties a lot back to the healers. and how they might be a very important role in this upcoming war.
And they are like putting the pieces together while
Quickly.
they're having this conversation. They're talking about Chaol thinks that like he was sent here to retrieve an army, but I wonder if some other force brought me here to retrieve something else. Yrene even says that they've been stalking her in the Torre, but she thinks that maybe they were sent from Morath, not for her to like just be killed, but so that she couldn't heal Chaol, because she can heal Chaol, who's been attacked by a Volg.
Or they want to capture her in some manner. They want to capture healers so that they have them on their side, even. There's a lot of...
Yep. They're trying to figure out... They're talking about the scrolls in the library, too, about, like, where those scrolls came from. They can't read them. They haven't really dove more into them. But they think maybe they might be able to explain, like, what the healers could possibly do against the Volg, or why the healers are so important.
Yeah.
So she does bring up that, like, it's probably worth it to take those scrolls to Hafiza, even though Chaol's, like, initially hesitant about bringing another person, even if it is just Hafiza, into the conversation. But they basically are like, it's worth the risk. They have to...
She's likely the only person who can read
opinion. Yeah.
There is one little tidbit that I want to touch on that has to do with the Fae and this ground that I highlighted and I think is very important. They talk about Fae magic and how it functions, because Fae magic is not... Like, when someone dies, it doesn't... If they don't have a bloodline that precedes them, like, it just kind of, their magic dies out. So, like, it is very important for them, like, their magic gets passed down through their bloodline. It says, Fae magic is passed down through their bloodline. It does not appear at random. Perhaps these people came here and then were forgotten in the world. Forces, good and evil. Perhaps they knew this place was far away enough to remain untouched. That wars would be waged elsewhere, by them. He jerked his chin to a carving of a Volg soldier. While the southern continent remained mostly mortal held, while the seeds planted here by the Fae were bred into the human bloodlines and grew into people gifted and prone to healing magic. So pretty much, he is saying his theory is that a group of Fae kind of broke off from the initial who were all going to Doranel. They created this, like, little pocket for themselves, this little oasis, started to kind of, like, I almost said interbreed with humans, but pretty much the Fae were... Oh, that's a terrible way to say that. I hate it. The Fae would have offspring with the humans, and then that Fae magic would then be passed to humans, and they'd have human healers with magic. So now they're creating even more magic healers.
They made their own little, like, break in case of emergency society.
Yes. Pretty much.
We're gonna put all these people down here safe, away from all the shit we know is gonna go down up there, so that maybe eventually in the future, if we need a group of people that are safely tucked away somewhere, although how the fuck are they gonna figure it out? I mean, they figured it out, but still, like, we're getting down to the wire in terms of figuring it out. So,
yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't necessarily believe him, so she kind of pushes back, and he's like, if you wanted to hide something precious, wouldn't you conceal it in plain sight? In a place where you were willing to bet a powerful force would spring up to defend it, like an empire. Several of them, whose walls had not been breached by outside conquerors for the entirety of its history. Who would see the value of its healers and think their gift was for one thing, but never know that it might be a treasure waiting to be used at another time. A weapon. We do not kill. No, Chaol said. But you and all the healers here, there is only one other such place in the world, guarded as heavily, protected by a power just as mighty. Doranel. the Fae healers in Doranel.
He's so smart.
We did it. We figured out something, and like them being in Antica was not a waste of our time. Yay!
It only took 500 pages.
Yippee! So now they're like,
oh fuck, we gotta wrap this up and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
we gotta go.
So they go back to the pools. They do all their dinner. They like get all dressed up.
They agree that they're gonna like, okay, we gotta call Nesryn
first
back.
thing in the morning.
We're gonna do one last shot at the Coggin, and then we're fucking off. We're out. We gotta go.
Yeah. They were gifted clothing, so now they're back in the Oasis. Yep. They have their plan. They're leaving first thing in the morning, the two of them together. They're gonna use some guys that, like, she has to go heal something, and Chaol won't let her go by herself because he's too protective of a male. Fine, whatever. So, Hussar, of being Hussar, has gifted them clothing for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all gauzy, of course. And so they're forced to wear kind of the clothing of the Oasis, which is lightweight so that they're not like sweating and gross or whatever. Chaol gets like this very like blue kind of like suit almost, but like,
yeah,
deserty type light clothing. And I believe Yrene gets purple. I think purple is like the big thing for her a lot of times. But anyway, Chaol mentions the clothing as like being a little bit more revealing than her normal attire. Like he can see her.
I found it.
Yeah. He can see her low back and like kind of parts of her skin peeking out. So he, of course, you know, sees shoulders and freaks the fuck out.
True. To be fair, it does say shoulders and thighs.
Fair.
Which is a little more fair. Considering the fact that ankles are the thing of the era.
Yeah, his was deep blue and hers was purple. Yeah.
They look great. They both look great.
Yeah. Stunning.
And are both uncomfortable.
Yeah. They go to dinner.
They poke at him, like, again, at dinner.
Yeah,
because
while
they
at
have
dinner.
nothing else to do.
Of course.
But poke at Chaol. They specifically talk about Aelin and Rowan through this, too.
And King
because
Dorian. They talk about all of them.
They talk about all of them. They, like, initially start the conversation talking about Aelin Galathinius should, like, come down here and marry one of my brothers, Hussar says. And Chaol's like, fucking no, she won't. Yep.
He's like, oh, no. As interesting
like,
as it would be to
no.
see Aelin Galathinius deal with all of you, a secret, knowing smile.
Yes.
Marriage is not an option for her. Hussar's brows lifted. To a man? She's like, maybe I'm interested.
Renya looks at Hussar and is like, what the fuck? Huh? Because Hussar's like, I'm an option. Renya's like, no, you're not. Actually, you're mine.
Chaol chuckled. To anyone beyond her beloved. King Dorian, Argan said, swirling his wine. I'm surprised she can stomach him. Chaol stiffened. No, another prince, foreign-born and powerful. All the royals stilled. Even caution looked their way. Who, pray tell, is that? Hussar sipped. Prince Rowan Whitethorn of Doranel, former commander of Queen Maeve and a member of her royal household. They all push back like, no, he's bloodsworn to Maeve. And he goes,
best part
is... So Aelin figured out that loophole.
As also says that Yrene could have sworn the blood drained wholly from Argan's face. Wait, hold on. The two of them together? Oh, no.
Yeah. So now
he's like,
this is the first time, like, they kind of second guess Aelin a lot because they don't really know. They know of her, but they don't know much about her.
I was surprised.
But Rowan is
I was surprised
known.
that Chaol gave any information whatsoever, but I also think that if he were to give any information, now's the time and I'm here for it. Like, no, actually, she's not available to marry any of you because she has someone way more fucking powerful. Get
all
fucked.
of you combined.
Peace out.
Aelin Galathinius is to wed Rowan Whitethorn. He shrugged. Thear Karanon, and he swore the blood oath to her. He swore that oath to Maeve, Argan countered. Chaol leaned back in his seat. He did, and Aelin got Maeve to free him from it, so he could swear it to her right in Maeve's face. Argan and Hussar swapped glances. How? The former demanded. Chaol's mouth turned up at the corner. Through the same way Aelin achieves all her ends. She encircled Maeve's city in fire, and when Maeve told her that Doranel was made up of stone, Aelin simply replied that her people were not. A chill snaked down Yrene's spine. So she is a brute and a mad woman, Hussar sniffed. Is she? Who else has taken on Maeve and walked away, let alone gotten what they want out of it? She would have destroyed an entire city for one man, Hussar snapped. The most powerful, pure-blooded Fey male in the world, Chaol said simply. A worthy asset for any court, especially when they had fallen in love with each other. This is the first time that, like, Chaol actually justifies her actions for the love of her life. Because he has his own little love now.
Yeah, I'm so glad he has to be happy for her to be happy. That's great. I'm kidding.
It's more of like he had to know what it was like. What it's
yeah,
like
he has to be in someone else's shoes to fucking get it.
Yeah. You know.
It's fine. I'm happy. It's fine. He's, you know, he got there in the end. Can I just say for the record, it wasn't me this time? Shitting on Chaol, okay? That one wasn't me. People get confused sometimes because they're like, oh, your guys' voices sound the same. That was her this time, okay? That wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Argan is like, oh, if it's a love match, then they risk knowing their enemies will go after him to punish her. Chaol laughs again and says, good luck to anyone who tries to go after Rowan Whitethorn. Because Aelin will burn them to ashes, Hussar added with poison sweetness. But it was Caution who answered softly, because Rowan Whitethorn will always be the person who walks away from that encounter, not the assailant.
Let's go,
Oh,
Caution.
It's so good.
They, of course, then push, like, I don't know, they start poking fun at
Hussar
Yrene,
just, like,
too. They're just...
She's like, okay, great, that line of questioning didn't work. Let's put more gas on this fire. What about Yrene? We'll offer Yrene up. Chaol can make up some shit about her being noble and we'll marry Yrene off. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Of course, this is to play into... she's smart. She knows. She's just doing it to fucking piss Chaol and Caution off. And it works. Because Chaol's like, no, she's not fucking marrying anyone. Thanks. End of question.
I like that Chaol responds, the amusement faded from Chaol's face. You sound as if you now want to be a part of this war, princess. I'm really, like, just trying to figure out my options, you know? Trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, Chaol's not having that. He just is like, she will not marry.
Hussar's like says like, I think she can speak for herself. And Irene's like, I don't fucking want to get in the middle of this. Chaol's like, don't even fucking say shit. Don't speak.
She's full of shit. They all gasp. Argan is pissed because Chaol pretty much says that Hussar is full of shit. Which, let's be honest, they all know to be true. But you can't talk to a royal that way. Even though he would tell Dorian the same thing. But, you know, it's fine. It's different here.
She tries to, like... She changes the subject. Yrene pipes up, finally, and says, this is very grave talk for my birthday. Why should I choose one man tonight when I have so many handsome ones in my company right now? And, like, Hussar lets the subject change. And then...
Why did Duva just catches a stray?
Yeah, she fucking throws shit at Duva too. No one is safe.
Yeah.
She says, indeed, betrothals are rather odious things. Look at poor Duva, stuck with that brooding, sad-eyed princeling. God damn, Hussar, like, fucking chill.
Duva's
for,
just, like
2 seconds.
minding her business, just catches a stray. Okay.
God.
Cool.
Poor Duva. They, like, start talking about, like, whether... who would be able to outdrink someone else. And Chaol's like, Aelin, Galathinius, and Adian Ash River will drink you under the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hussar says, or under a chair. And fucking Yrene loses
That one
it.
gets her, which gives me so much joy.
Yrene lunged for the princess, and though Chaol might have decided against pushing Hussar into the pool behind her, Yrene had no such qualms about doing it herself. One heartbeat, Hussar was smirking at her. The next, her legs and skirts and jewels went sky up, her shriek piercing across the dudes as Yrene shoved the princess, chair and all, into the water. Next chapter, and the first sentence is, Yrene knew she was a dead woman. This was maybe not the greatest decision Yrene could have ever made. I don't understand that we get to the point where she is starting to let loose. We're so happy. Too far. We've gone too far. Just a little too far.
I'm still here for it.
I thought it was great. It was lovely, but also that was a risk. Renya.
No.
Renya is a sweet saint, and we love her. Yeah. I think she might be the only person on the planet that could control or change Hussar's moods in any way. Because Hussar stares at her after getting out of the pool, looks like she's ready to fucking kill her, or have Yrene killed, and then Renya starts laughing. And Arden starts laughing. And Caution starts laughing. And then Hussar says, I was wondering when you were going to grow a backbone. And Yrene is still scared out of her fucking mind and does realize that that was like a gift that she gave her, because Renya also says, you should probably not be here by the time she gets back to the table, out of the water and back to the table. You should probably go. Yeah. So they go, oh god, look at that, gotta go, and Chaol and Yrene fucking bolt.
Yeah. They're like, birthday gift we're leaving, bye.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm gonna go.
What I thought was great, and is a very telling thing of Chaol's kind of growth, is that they get back and Chaol bites his tongue. Because he knew she made a bad choice and wanted to, like, ream her out pretty much for making that bad choice. But he could tell that she already, like, was spiraling. And so he, read the room for once. And he just kind of, like, kept his mouth shut as Yrene just, like, paced back and forth. Being like, oh god, what did I do?
And she says, before you begin shouting, I should say that what just happened is proof that I should not be marrying a prince. Chaol says, having lived with a prince for most of my life, I'd say quite the opposite. Dorian would have found it fucking hilarious. Aelin would have found it fucking hilarious.
I feel like
just
in that scenario, if that was someone else, like if this scenario was like with Aelin and Dorian and Adian or whatever, and like she pushed Lysandra into the pool. Like let's just say she pushed Lysandra into the pool.
They would have thought it was hilarious.
Dorian would have like body ran at Yrene and just like and just landed in the pool with her. And then they all would have jumped in. Like it would have become like everyone's in the pool having a great time. Not swords drawn.
Absolutely. Adian would be in. Rowan would be sitting at the table still, rolling his eyes and watching everyone else swim and being like,
and Aelin would have like,
fuck am I doing here?
Used her power to splash him from afar.
Dorian would have fucking pulled Manon in at the earliest convenience. Yep. Actually, no. Shadows. Whoosh.
Yeah.
Just yeets her in with shadows.
He'd look up at her.
'Cause he's
like,
already
she'd
already
be at
in
one
the
side
pool.
of the table with
Yep.
her eyes like glaring down at all of them, and Rowan would be on the other side while Aelin's splashing him, and he'd just look at her and go like this, just the finger just pull, and then
So cute.
his shadow like hands would just pull her in. He's so good. Anyway,
They end up talking about Aelin because she like Yrene basically like starts questioning Chaol about Aelin and her relationship with Rowan, because this is news to her as well. Like, are they really like together? Are they going to get married? She asks, is she really marrying that Fae prince? And he says, maybe, likely.
I don't know. She does whatever
And
she wants.
she asks if he's upset about it. And this was the part where I was like, all right, good. Chaol's getting over everything and like just is gonna come a new person and everything's gonna be good from here on out. Because he basically describes his entire relationship with her of like, I was in love with her, but I was in love with her when she was a different person. And not even talking about like Selena, but talking about because she was pretending to be pretending to be whoever she was pretending to be someone from the court.
But
Because
no,
she
not
wasn't
to
the
him.
assassin originally.
He knew she was Selena the whole time.
But when he was originally like falling in love with her, like she was having to act that way. Like he fell in love with an idealized version of her.
Yeah.
Even though she was still being an assassin. And like he saw her able to act like that way and thought at some point that she could be that. Like she's capable of it because I can see her act like a lady to these other people, even though she's doing the assassin stuff on the side. And he had this like idealized version of like what he thought his life was going to turn out as with her specifically. And then when he finds out that she's Aelin, he realizes that like that's never going to happen, because just like he would never leave Otterlin and leave Dorian, she would never leave her country to be with him, and he's never going to leave Otterlin. So like there was no shot for either of them. And he also talks about the fact that like she waited the whole time. Like nothing ever happens with Rowan. She waits and waits and waits until she's able to get back and like clear things up with him before anything happens. And I like that he recognizes it.
Yes.
They talk about Nesryn briefly too, about whether he's like still in love with Nesryn. And he says no. And then he gives her his birthday gift to her. And he gets her a locket that fits her little note in it so that she doesn't he says so that you don't have to keep moving it from dress to dress. And it can always be in a little necklace. He
still doesn't know what the note is, but
right?
He knows that
So
there's
cool.
something in her pocket that she holds on to. He knows it's small and that she can put other things in her pocket with it, and it doesn't have like an outline. So like he's like, I think I got the size right, but the whole idea is that you could put that thing in your pocket in this so you don't have to transfer it, which is very sweet. He didn't even know what it was, but knew it was important to her. And it has her initials on it, carved into it.
Yeah. It's genuinely so sweet. It's a really good gift. He gets self-conscious. He's like, it's nothing as nice as like a fine desert party. Which I'm like, it's not that nice of a desert party. So wasn't a ton to live up to. And she says, no one has given me a gift since I was 11, since her mother.
She wears it.
She puts it on.
And she whispers, I am glad that you do not love that queen or Nesryn. Mm-hmm. And then she kisses him.
Yeah. She rises up on her toes and presses a kiss, light as a caress, to his mouth. And she says, I will cherish it always, no matter what may befall the world, no matter the oceans or mountains or forests in the way. And then he kisses her back, and he says, I'm glad I do not love them either, Yrene Towers.
Yay! And then they be kissing more and more, and then she's like, you're back, and he goes, I'll manage, and they be doing it. And the rest of the chapter is them doing it. Pretty much. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's the greatest it's the greatest way that I could have imagined you describing the last part of this fucking chapter.
Yeah.
She makes a joke of like, is it him that makes the joke of like, I figured you'd be sick of touching my back.
Something like that.
That was so funny. Yeah, and they finally are together, and it's really sweet.
He realized that here amongst the dunes and the stars,
That's the
here
one I was
in the
looking
heart
for.
of a foreign land, here with her, he was home. That's the best part of the whole thing. They be doing it, which is
know.
great. Yay, Chaol and Yrene. He gonna hurt himself, but you know, you do you. Worth it.
Yep. I was about to say, I was like, if any male has ever been told, don't do strenuous activity, that's the one strenuous activity that no one fucking listens. No one listens.
True.
This is why people be having babies fucking less than 9 months after they have their first baby.
Mm-hmm.
Because people, they just, just give it a minute. Relax.
Heal.
Some
Chill.
people just can't. They can't wait.
So
We'll be gentle. It'll be fine.
we end the chapter, they're doing it. We start the next chapter, they're still doing it. And
well,
then
because we had his perspective, and then
yeah, we're now her perspective. We get to a point where they are done and they're resting, and her hand is on his chest, and they're kind of talking to each other. And Yrene gives him information about herself. She tells him about Inish and how her goal was to travel to Antica to join the Torre, just like her mother and like all of her Towers family. And she tells him that one day there was a stranger, an assassin that was there. I think she just describes her as an assassin.
Yeah.
And she was brooding for a fight, wanted to fight people, but like no one really took her up on it. She was kind of sitting there with her like jewels and money and everything kind of showing because she wanted someone to fight her. This, as we know, was on her journey to the Red Desert in Assassin's Blade.
Mm-hmm.
She, I guess, Yrene at the time had kind of like brushed off these men that wanted to like make advances on her, and then kind of closed down this bar tavern she was working at. And Yrene went to go like take the trash out, do like her nighttime routine of like taking things out, told him about how these guys came back and were going to do unspeakable things to her, and our stranger showed up, who we know to be Aelin, and killed all of them except one who got away. He went and got his cronies. She taught Yrene how to fight a little bit. They came back. It's how she got the scar on her neck, was he held a knife to her neck, and Aelin pretty much watched as she said to Yrene that, like, you have to fight this man. She had full control over the situation. She had a dagger and could have, like, easily just took the guy out.
Yeah.
But wanted Yrene to feel empowered enough to do it herself, and she did. She told him how Yrene helped patch her up and healed her hands or whatever. And then when she came back, she started cleaning stuff up. When she came back to her room, there was a note that said, "The world needs more healers," from Aelin, and a bag of money and her little brooch. And she didn't know who she was, but whoever she is, I will be forever grateful for her.
Chaol says this.
Chaol says
that.
There's
Chaol
nothing
is the
silly
one that
about.
says, whoever she is, I will be forever grateful.
Yeah, Yrene says, "I never learned her name. She only left a note with 2 lines. For wherever you need to go, and then some. The world needs more healers." That's what I keep in my pocket. That little scrap of paper. What's now in here? Yrene tapped the locket. "I know it's silly, but it gave me courage. When things were hard, it gave me courage. It still does. There is nothing silly about it, and whoever she is, I will be forever grateful. Me too. Me too."
Let's just remember this in the future.
Yeah,
'Cause
Chaol.
now, I'm just every time she does anything wrong for the rest of their lives, I want her to just be like, "Hey."
You remember? I wrote, "Remember that, Chaol, when you get back to the same book as Aelin." Remember that you're grateful for her.
Please, God. So now we go back to Nesryn and Sartaq, who were in a
They're in a
sticky
predicament.
situation. Yes, we are in quite a predicament. They are still attempting to escape the spiders. They are running, and Sartaq is not making it. He is injured. He, could not... They sent Kadara away because she was injured. Falkan was
This whole
still
time I'm
with
hoping
them.
Kadara is going for help.
Yeah, Kadara flew away, which I'm very pleased. The same way that I would be like, Abraxos, fuck off, please.
Yes.
Please go. But he is, Sartaq is injured. He's, not making it. And then he gets stuck between these 2 boulders that she's able to get out of.
He's too strong and thick
He's
and
just
muscular
too big
to
and
fit.
thick. Whatever.
That's how they describe it, which I
Sure.
rolled my eyes.
It's all right, great.
I think the spider comes down, and pretty much says, "Oh, a warrior too strong can't fit between the rocks," and I was like,
that part
please.
is fucking funny. That part's funny though, that it's it's not that they described it in the... It's not that, Nesryn describes it he was just too thick to make it through. The spider's you fucking idiot. How are those muscles treating you now, bud? You're about to be lunch. So he basically tells her to run because he's not making it. Sorry, hold on. I want the actual line. Oh,
the one he says, or the one the spider says?
Yeah, the one he says. No, the one he says. She tells him, he tells her to run. And she's not going. And then he says, I heard the spy stories of you, the fearless Balruni woman in Otterland's empire, Neith's arrow, and I knew. Nesryn sobbed, tugging and tugging. Sartaq smiled at her gently, sweetly, in a way she had not seen yet. I loved you before I ever set eyes on you, he said. Please, Nesryn wept. Sartaq's hand tightened on hers. I wish we'd had time. A hiss behind him, a rising bulk of shining black, and then the prince was gone, ripped from her hands as if he had never been. Nesryn is nah, fuck that, we're going in. She goes and immediately gets herself captured by spiders, because she and Falkan have come up with a tricky little plan. So they talk, and they're okay, we're gonna go get captured. She wakes up, basically
she realizes that the spider said alive, I'm going to take you back alive as a gift. So she really harbors on that alive, they're going to keep him alive. That means they're going to also
she's
keep
they're
me
not
alive.
going to immediately kill him.
Yeah.
So I'll have
that's
time.
her in.
So she goes up to them and basically is take me too.
Yeah. So she acts as if she took a bad fall. Pretty much she like cuts herself on the Chaol on purpose and then like runs to this like dead end that she saw and kind of like plays damsel in distress. Like, I'm injured. Oh no, I can't go any further. So that a spider would come get her, pretty much, and smell her blood and like realize that she's there. And then she gets taken back. She plays it off. She's like, please, please don't hurt me. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah. She gets wrapped in silk, which we realize, like, the end of this is like, she gets wrapped in silk and taken away. And we're like, oh, fuck. Maybe that's not part of her plan, but I guess we'll find out. Oh, fingers crossed.
She wakes up to biting, which is super creepy, and I hate it. It's Falkan, like, nibbling on her, trying to get her to wake up. And she finds Sartaq. He's unconscious, which is not great. And also, like, wrapped up, just like her, in silk, and, like, hanging out in this cave, basically.
But he's breathing, so he's alive.
He's alive. It's fine. Things could be worse. He could be dead. But so Falkan starts like nibbling and chewing on the silk to like try to free her, and she hears clicking sounds coming down from like the archway, tells Falkan to like stop and hide, and the spider comes down, and Nesryn realizes like, I gotta buy time and keep try to keep the spider talking so that I can get time for him to like chew through the silk and release me. And so she gets the spider to monologue their evil plan by being like, I'm gonna die soon, you can tell me, just tell me what's going on, like I want to learn about you guys before I die. She basically tells the spider that they were paid by a merchant who traded with their sisters in the north, the Stygian spiders. And the spider says, our bloodkin they may be, but no true sisters of the soul. Gentle-hearted fools, trading with mortals, trading when they were born to devour you.
Scary.
Yikes. She says, that's why he sent us. He was unimpressed by them, said they did not live up to the legend. So he wished to see if you might trade. And the spider is like, no, we don't trade with humans. We eat you. You are lunch, not people we would trade with. And she asks then why are you here? What are you doing here if you're not here to trade? And the spider says, we wait. Who do you wait for? Hulin had said the Vogue had once passed through here. The spider brushed aside the dirt crusted over the figure, revealing long, flowing hair etched there. And what she thought to be a cloak was a dress. Our queen, the spider said, we wait for her dark majesty to return at last. Not Erewhon? Servants to a dark crown, Hulin had said. The spider spat, the venom landing near Sartaq's covered feet. Not him, never him. Then who? We wait for the queen of the Vogue, the spider purred, rubbing against the carving, who in this world calls herself Maeve. Fuck!
Panic.
That's where the chapter ends so here's my explanation, okay? Here's the thing. She didn't listen to what I told her to do, okay? I picked this chapter specifically to torture Kat, like just a little bit, just like a tiny little bit. Because I was like, okay, we're gonna end here, and then she's gonna stop reading Tower of Dawn, because now we go read Empire of Storms, and I'm not gonna let you read any more Tower of Dawn until the next episode. And she messaged me, she's like, fuck that, I kept reading. So only the mildest of spoiler for the next episode as well. Yeah, she's not Queen of the Fae. Maeve is also Queen of the Vault.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get more information about that next episode.
Yep, this is where we finish Tower of Dawn. This is the part. This is why I said Tower of Dawn. I wanted to keep reading because I'm sorry, huh? When are
I'm both sorry and also not sorry.
when's Chaol and Yrene and Nesryn gonna go back to our dream team to tell them that Maeve is bad guy? We already knew she was bad guy, but she big bad guy. She bigger bad guy than Erewhon, big bad guy.
See, here's the thing. We got a lot of information in this book that is now becoming very relevant very quickly.
Yes.
And they gotta talk to these people.
Yep.
Please. Soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She calls
Dream
her
team.
Maeve
Desert
is
team
queen
really gotta
of
talk
the
to each
Fae
other.
and queen of the fog.
And healers may be the thing that could defeat the Volk. None of the people actually fighting the Volk, though, have any of this information at the moment. So.
Yep.
We
All right,
return
so let's
to
go hang out with them
Empire
Empire
of
Storm.
Storms, where none of them know this information.
Yeah, it's gonna be really obvious very soon that none of them have this information because they are on their way to sail back to Terrasen. That's the goal. Rowan and Adian are pissed at Aelin for keeping secrets. Adian is more vocal about him being pissed. Rowan is very much, I'm keeping this between Aelin and I. So he only says things when they're together because he knows how the hierarchy of a war works. And you go along with things and you question in silence. Like you question in the background. Like, hey, I can't help you if I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I want to help you. So please, for the love of God. Aelin explains that she did not know if Ansel would get her message. She hoped. And he questions, like, that was the red hair. That's why you dyed your hair red before you went into the pits and kind of made a story. She was like, this was mainly for Erebin. I just, like, was hoping that Ansel would hear that Tone was pretending to be her. We
Ansel
learn a
also
lot
says-
about Ansel and how she knew that Selena had gone to Endovier and that she was in the process of fighting her way to the top to be queen of the Waste when she heard this. And so once she became queen and built kind of an army and people to help her, she was about to make her way to Endovier to try to free Aelin. Ansel was headed to Endovier to get her out when she heard that Dorian and Chaol had, or heard that the Prince of Otterlin had taken her out of Endovier himself. And
then she just kind of like turned around and went back to Hosea.
yeah. This is when Aelin also pushes back against Manon trying to say that the, like, wastes are hers. Aelin says to Manon, you cannot hold the land, not with the curse. Ansel won it through blood and loss and her own wits. It is my home, my people's home. That was the asking price, wasn't it? The Iron Teeth get their homeland returned, and Erewhon probably promised to break the curse. At Manon's wide eyes, Aelin snorted. Oh, the ancients didn't tell you that, did they? Too bad. That's what Ansel's spies picked up. She looked at the wing leader. If you and your people prove to be better than your matrons, there will be a place for you in that land too. Ansel murmured, so touchy these witches.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's doable. Manon's gonna have a lot of work to do in, like, getting her people to not be fucking shitty.
Mm-hmm. I think she'll be able to obviously get her 13 on board.
Yeah, it's all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Although I think the Blue Bloods would take less convincing.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking get rid of the other ones.
Kill all the yellow legs. And then convert all the black beaks. Somehow.
they're not gonna have a choice because Manon's gonna be in charge because she's gonna fucking stab her grandmother right in the face.
Hope so.
Same. I hope so. This is when Ansel also brings the news that Maeve was the one setting the fires. That did not come from Morath.
Yes.
So now they also have confirmation that although they did not know if Maeve was... I mean, technically they still don't really know if Maeve is on Morath's side or just, like, fucking kicking up shit because she can. Mm-hmm. We are pretty sure... We have extra information now that they don't have. But, yeah, she's definitely not on their side or coming to be helpful in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they knew... that they now know that, like, she was setting the fires and blaming them on Aelin specifically, and that Maeve is heading north.
Yeah. Rowan blatantly says that, like, this is a move to undermine Aelin and to make her look like a tyrant and not a savior. Like a threat that isn't worth banding. Like a threat that's worth banding against and not allying with.
Yeah. It's
Maeve knows how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And her only goal is to protect herself.
But they still don't know where she is.
Yeah.
They don't know where she is. They just believe.
Yeah, they believe she may also be going to Terrasen.
Yeah.
An undefended
Terrasen. Now
Terrasen.
it's undefended. Not ideal.
And Aelin says we leave at first light.
Rowan and her have a conversation. And Rowan's like, wow, you've been moving a lot of pieces around the board.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all of your armies, like, kind of in position.
Yep. That I've been doing that.
Rolf and the Mycenians from the eastern coast. Ansel and her army from the western mountains. The Bane and the other half of Ansel's army sweep down the center from the Staghorns, all converging on Morath. She's got all of her pieces ready, and she still says she needs more time.
Mm-hmm. She needs more, and she needs more time. She needs more people. This is where he asks, and what army will you be fighting in? I assume I won't be able to persuade you to stay behind the lines. You know better than to even try. Where would the fun be anyway? If I got to win all the glory while you sat on your ass, I'd never let you hear the end of it. I read this as he was kind of alluding to using the stones against Maeve in some manner, but like in the future. Or I don't know, maybe it's just him saying to like conquer Maeve, like get rid of her out of the picture. But he pretty much says to her, you could, take it for yourself, take it all. You use Maeve's bullshit maneuvers against her, make good on that promise. And would you join me if I turned conqueror? You would unify, not pillage and burn, and yes, to whatever end. That's the threat, isn't it? She mused. The other kingdoms and territories will spend the rest of their existence wondering if I will one day grow restless in Terrasen. They will do their best to ensure we stay happily within our borders and find them to be more useful as allies and trade partners than potential conquests. Maeve attacked Eelway's coast, posing as me, perhaps to turn those foreign lands against me, to hammer home the point I made with my power at Skull's Bay and use it against us. He nodded. But if you could, would you? For a heartbeat, she could see it. See her face carved into statues and kingdoms so far away they did not even know Terrasen existed. A living god, Mala's heir and conqueror of the known world. She would bring music and books and culture, wipe out the corruption festering in corners of the earth. She said softly, not now. But later? Perhaps if being queen bores me, I'll think about making myself empress. To give my offspring not one kingdom to inherit, but as many as the stars.
It's cute, but it's scary.
Yeah. Rowan asks her, why did you forgive Ansel after what she did to the others in the desert? because she made a bad choice, trying to heal a wound she couldn't ever mend, trying to avenge the people she loved. And you really set all this in motion when we were in Rifthold, when you were fighting in those pits. She gave him a roguish wink. I knew if I gave the name Ansel of Briarcliff, it'd somehow make its way to her, that a red-haired young woman was using her name to slaughter trained soldiers in the pits, and that she'd know it was me. So the red hair back then, not just for Arabin, not even close. So good. I love this. I just love Sarah's writing.
It's very good.
The best.
He also says, sometimes I wish I knew every thought in that head, each scheme and plot. Then I remember how much it delights me when you reveal it. Usually when it's most likely to make my heart stop dead in my chest. I knew you were a sadist. This chapter ends the way that Sarah does with so many things, where she looks at Rowan. Sorry, you're right. It's not even the end of the chapter. It's just the section within the chapter. She took his hand, gripping it hard. Rowan. The spark died from his eyes. She squeezed his fingers. Rowan, I need you to do something for me. And then it fucking ends, and then we go and we talk with Manon.
Mm-hmm.
Sick. What the fuck does that mean?
I still don't know.
We go to Manon and Dorian. Manon's having issues. She's having too many feelings, guys. That's what it is.
She doesn't know how to have feelings.
She's got feelings about the Krakens. She's got feelings about all of these people being like, you can come and live with us in harmony and whatever, and we won't, like, you know, we can be a team. Manon's like, this is fucking, I don't like this. This feels weird. I need to get a Braxos and get out of here.
Yeah, she's like, what if the Krakens choose not to fight by my side?
God.
She touched the scar on her belly. The Iron Teeth would never share the waste. She thinks about Abraxos. And where is he? Why isn't he back yet? Like, they told him however many days. And he's still not back. I'm scared. I want Abraxos back.
Dorian comes to visit her. And no, I mean, he is coming to visit. And they talk about what she is. She says, you never weighed in on what he asked, though he knew what she'd meant. What I am, who I am. Does my opinion matter to you, Witchling? You don't seem outraged that Aelin sacked Melisande without telling anyone. You do not seem to care that I am Kraken. Do not mistake my silence for lack of feeling. I have a good reason to keep my thoughts to myself. Ice glittered at his fingertips. Manon tracked it. Will it be you or the Queen against Erewhon in the end, I wonder? Fire against darkness makes for a better story. Yes, but so would ripping a demon king to shreds without using your hands. And then it gets better. A half smile. I can think of better uses for my hands. Invisible and flesh. An invitation and a question. She held his gaze. Then finish what you started. Manon breathed.
Hey, yo.
And then they do it. Because that's apparently how
we're ending all of these chapters with people doing it.
Yeah.
Not Rowan and Aelin.
I mean, I'm probably doing it at some point.
Not in these scenes.
True.
We have ended chapters with them doing it before. But we end with Manon and Dorian be doing it.
I'm happy for them. I am very happy for them.
Dorian
also at the end he goes,
add a little thing. Sorry, I was gonna say something different, probably different from what you're saying. Maybe
the only thing that was funny is at the end he goes, this was supposed to take the edge off, and did it? No, not even close.
Yeah, this is one little tidbit that plays on Dorian's magic and him keeping things to himself.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloodhound was lying that night. What she said about your second, I felt her lie, tasted it.
Yeah.
Some tight part in her chest ease. I don't want to talk about that. That right there, I went, excuse me, Dorian? You did a what now? You can tell she's lying? How? He just says, some things I don't share with people. And then he's like, hey, by the way, she was lying. I could taste it.
Tricky bitch.
Huh? Dorian? Huh? What? What other things can you do? Ice from your fingers. You have fake hands.
Yep.
And you can tell when people are lying? Huh?
So at the beginning of this chapter, she was freaking out because she was out too many feelings. She definitely is having too many feelings now.
Yep.
She, like, wishes for Braxos to return. She's like, Elide's here. She's safe. We're good. I gotta go.
Yeah, she wants to go and get the 13 back. Like, she wants her family. That is her family, is the 13. And it is the only reason she'd be willing to leave Elide is because she knows Elide is safe with them.
Yeah.
And she trusts them. Which is a big step. Manon trusts them enough to protect Elide when she's very, like, aggressively protective over Elide. Elide barely slept. She felt something pulling her awake constantly.
Not for any good reasons.
Yeah. We know Elide has a voice in her head that when bad things are about to happen, they kind of be like, hey, Elide, wake up. Hey, Elide, pay attention.
Yeah.
Listen, pay attention. So that was kind of happening. She woke up at roughly the same time Lorcan did. Something pulled him awake as well. And as they kind of made eye contact, they're both awake. They heard shouting from the people who were on watch at the time. When they all made it to the top deck, they saw a bunch of ships, an armada, headed towards them. And Fenrys, under his breath, says, Maeve. And I wrote in all caps, oh, fuck. Because that's all. Oh, fuck. That's it. Just, oh, fuck.
This is when shit start hitting the fan.
Mm-hmm.
This is when shit start hitting the fan. Oh, God.
Instead
I
of...
don't like the last chapters of her books. They make me anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Ah!
So...
Okay.
Maeve doesn't just start attacking. Because we know. Maeve likely knows who is on those ships. And she would like all of the powerful Fae males to be on her side. Maeve sent a message via a rowboat. Surrender or die. And you have until dawn tomorrow to decide. See you later. Little messenger. Then he goes off. He's like, okay, see you later. Bye. And rows back to his little armada. Aelin had no idea what to do. And Rowan could tell that this is the first time she has been in shock in front of him. She is actually at a loss. And she thought of everything and she didn't think of this. So, Rowan, knowing a lot more about Maeve's army than really anyone, he takes the opportunity while she's sleeping to transform into his hawk form and fly to the center of Maeve's ships. And he goes to Enda, who is his cousin. And we learn that the, not necessarily captain, but like the head soldier of each of these ships is someone related to Rowan. So this is his family's armada, his bloodline, who is about to attack him and Aelin and everyone. And he doesn't necessarily say the words to convince them not to fight. him, but he gives them all of the information. He just is like kind of honest with them of like, here's the situation that you are now being a part of. And I would like you to have all of the information before you make your decision. And Enda responds with, I will consider it. And then he flies to the next ship, to his next cousin. And they also respond, I will consider it. And every ship where he has asked this favor, we don't know what this favor is, we just know that they have talked, because of course, why would we know what the favor is? They all say, I will consider it. And that's the end of this section that we're going to be going over for episode, or part 10.
Guys, I was real fucking mean.
The last line is, all of them, all his cousins had the same answer. I will consider it.
I remember when I was like reading through this shit, because we were trying to keep it to like a certain amount of chapters. I remember reading it and being like, ooh, this one hurts. Yep, this is where we're ending.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. I guess we'll see you next episode.
Where we hope that some of this stuff will be
resolved.
Wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed part 10 of our tandem
At least
read.
some people had good times in this episode.
Chaol and Yrene did it. Manon and Dorian did it.
Elide chose Lorcan.
Yeah, Manon still has to talk to her about that, so it's fine.
Yeah, but Manon's leaving. Like, she
wants to leave. She's not leaving.
Probably
She's not gonna leave.
She can't leave without Abraxas.
True. And Abraxas isn't there, so she physically can't leave.
Yep.
But she wants to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Towards Maeve's armada.
I don't know,
you know.
man.
Thanks for hanging out with us. You can find us at the Smut Peddlers on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all the other things for your other content. Welcome to suffering. Love it.
This is what it feels like. Last 100 pages. Sarah J. Maas. Just live in this feeling. This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.